Form 4s, I'm sure we are progressing well, and that is why today we are looking at the second section of riddling. The last time we talked, it was about riddling 1, which was dealing with the literariness or the literature in the riddle, the literary aspect of the riddle. But today we shall look at performance. And as you can see, performance is a wide aspect. I told you last time that paper 2 or riddling on the perspective of the literariness is the concern of paper 2. But performance is the concern of paper 1. But before we look at performance, I want us to look at a recap or one more aspect of literariness that we did not mention. That is the aspect of the metaphor in the riddle. You understand that there is no riddle without a metaphor. In fact, it is the metaphor in the riddle that makes it a riddle. So, for us to understand that, it's important to go back to the early times, the genesis of the riddle. The early definition of the riddle identifies the riddle with a metaphor. So, to describe a fact in an impossible combination of words which cannot be done with the real names for things, but can be done with their metaphorical substitutes. Look at this riddle, for example. Look at this, for example. Look at this riddle here. I want us to focus on this. This riddle here. Tamu taaluma, mlango wa chuma, ukiufungua hauna huruma. Tamu taaluma. Taaluma is technology. Sweet technology. A door of steel, when opened, shows no mercy. Tamu taaluma, mlango wa chuma, ukiufungua hauna huruma. These are real. You need to uncover what it is. How is it technology? How sweet is technology? You know, ordinarily, we know the doors made of wood, wooden doors, and a door is a sign of welcoming. The moment you open the door, you are supposed to come in. It's a sign of hospitality. The door, basically, the door allows you to come in. That means you are allowed to come in. That's where there is a door. If there is no door, you are not allowed to come in. So since there is the door, you are now allowed to come in. So if you are coming in, there is hospitality. But here is the door of steel, made of chuma. Ukiufungua, hauna huruma. Maybe it causes death. Tamu taaluma, mlango wa chuma, ukiufungua hauna huruma. Sweet technology. A door of steel. Originally, there were no doors of steel, but now here is the work of technology. Technology has brought the door still, so that when you open it, it shows no mercy. Now, going back to our definition, to describe a fact in an impossible combination of words which cannot be done with the real names for things, but can be with their metaphorical substitutes. That is what this metaphor is all about. So the riddle, in the strict sense, compares an object to another entirely different object. It compares an object to another entirely different object. That is why you are supposed to uncover it. So without the metaphor, there is no what? There is no, without the metaphor, there is no riddle. However, riddles give clues so that whoever reads them can discover the answer, of course, after some guesses. But the humor in them is to miss out. When you miss out, that is where the humor is. The study introduces an original way of referencing riddle acts that specifies individual audience, participants, as the authors and co-authors of the riddle texts. By naming audience participants in the riddle performance records, authorship is emphasized and the authority of the riddles in their specific contexts of performance is reinforced. There is need to depart from the usual practices of pulling riddle precedents out of context and listing them as authorless texts without origin. That is to tell you that every riddle has got its origin or community of origin. So that's why we have a sequence of acts. The sequence of the acts, we call them in our work or in our syllabus, we call them stages. They reveal that riddling was a discourse with meaningful and coherent speech patterns. So we have stages, and these stages should not outstep each other. You have where you begin and where you end, and that is what is tested. That is why we have the typical exam question: read the riddle below and then answer the questions that follow. I want us to read together this. We shall start with the very first time. We call it challenger, who says riddle, riddle. Then we have the respondents or respondent, who says riddle, come. There are other conventional way of saying that. You can say, I have a riddle. The respondent says, bring it on. Or riddle, riddle. He says, riddle, come. This is the most conventional. We also have, instead of saying riddle, come, others say, bring it on, or they say it. Then the challenger says, I have a wife who never returns to where she came from. I have a wife who never returns where she came from. Then the respondent says, the water in a stream. The challenger says, no. The respondent says, a baby from the womb. The challenger says, incorrect, my dear. The respondent says, give us the answer. The challenger says, not unless you give me a reward. Good. Ready for the answer? Yes. Or before that, he says, I give you Mombasa. The whole of Mombasa city. Good. Ready for the answer? Yes. The answer is the leaf of a tree. Now from here, you need to understand that this is the discourse that takes place. But it is important also to know that this discourse progresses according to the stages. The discourse progresses according to the stages. You start riddle, riddle, respondent, riddle, come. How do we call this stage? Where the challenger is saying riddle, riddle. Where the respondent is saying riddle, come. How do you call that stage? That stage is very important. It's important to know that stage. Then the challenger says, I have a wife who never returns to where she came from. Then the respondent tries to suggest the answers. In fact, more than once. The water in our stream? No. A baby from the womb? No. Then give us the answer. Not unless you give me a reward. I give you Mombasa. And the people of Mombasa have greeted you. Good. Ready for the answer? Yes. The answer is a leaf from a tree. Now, describe the stages of the above riddling session. This is the end of our first part. When we resume, we shall go straight to the stages of the above riddling session.